Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Saturday, June 21st, 2025. Today is day 624. Thank you to so many of you who are supporting our efforts and seeking to raise $140.6 thousand, $1,000 for each mile, the distance of the Ironman. 140.6 miles. The Ironman will be on September 20th. Today, I ran almost the distance of a half marathon. So for training, I'm so grateful to so many of you who are praying, donating, supporting us, showing solidarity in your advocacy. So thank you for your efforts in that regard. We're so incredibly grateful. An update on this day 624 since October 7th of 2023 in terms of what's happening in the Middle East. Use this information as data, as knowledge with which to pray. Israeli attacks killed 44 Palestinians in Gaza in the last 24 hours, and the United Nations is warning about the water shortage, which is man-made. So this data comes from yesterday, the 20th of June. Israelis fired upon and killed at least 44 Palestinians in the Gaza Strip on Friday, many of whom were seeking food and aid at distribution sites, according to local officials. And the United Nations Children's Agency has said that the scarcity of drinking water is becoming an even greater crisis than it has been previously. Now, at least 25 people who were awaiting food distribution at trucks were killed by Israeli actions, which was south of the Netzarim corridor in central Gaza. According to local health authorities, the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which runs the month-old U.S.-backed food distribution system, it operates a site which is located just south of the Netzarim corridor. And that was the location where 25 people were killed. And honestly, sometimes when I read these news reports, I can't just help but wonder, does anyone care? Like, listen to this nonsense. To me, this is literally the definition of impunity. Commenting on the incident. So there's no denial that this is happening. The Israeli military said that troops fired warning shots, and we hear this regularly. Like, it's literally, you can read and quote like the exact same language on a regular basis. The Israeli military said troops fired warning shots at suspected militants who advanced in a crowd towards them. Israeli aircraft then fired a missile and eliminated the suspects in a statement. The military said it was aware that people other than the suspected militants were hurt, and it is conducting a review. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation said the incident did not occur at or near its distribution location. Separately, Gaza medics said at least 19 people were killed in Israeli military strikes across the enclave yesterday. This included 12 people in one house in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza Strip. And I just have to say, at these Gaza humanitarian distribution sites, people are going towards where the soldiers and the militaries are located because that's where the food is located. Of course, people are going to go towards them because people are hungry. It's like so stupid. It's just like so nonsensical. And meanwhile, the United States Children's Agency, UNICEF, warned Geneva that there is a shortage of fuel. Fuel is needed to operate the wells and the desalination plants, which very few are operating in the Gaza Strip, which means the enclave is, quote, facing what would amount to a man-made drought. It is the middle of the summer. It is hot. There is very little water. Desalination plants, pumps, wells are needed. There was a water crisis in Gaza before October 7th, 2023. People are hungry. People don't have water. And now the world is paying attention to what's happening between Israel and Iran, which the conflict is going on a second week between Israel and Iran. Missiles are being fired back and forth. Over 400 people have been killed. Thousands have been injured in Iran since the beginning of that conflict. According to their health ministry, the number of people injured is 3,056 injured in Iran. Most of the casualties and fatalities were civilians, according to the local news agency there. Israeli strikes in Iran have killed 54 women and children since June 13th, according to the government spokesperson. Israel and Iran have exchanged more strikes as the conflict enters its second week. Israel has claimed the killing of 2 commanders in Iran's elite Quds forces and attacked an Iranian nuclear research complex. In Israel, 2 Iranian drones made a rare breach of the country's air defenses. The United States has been shifting the location of their U.S. B-2 bombers, and there's a big question about what this might mean. President Trump said that he was going to take 2 weeks to weigh the decision about whether or not he would attack Iran. Now, some members of Congress have said, Congress should weigh in on that in terms of the War Powers Resolution, but U.S. defense officials have cautioned that the moving of the bombers west over the Pacific does not mean any operation is imminent, but it's intended to provide President Donald Trump with options as he considers a potential strike on Iran. A U.S. defense official says there's been no order given to move forward with any kind of operation, but as of Saturday, planes are flying over the Pacific and appear to be headed towards Guam. U.S. defense officials again have said this doesn't necessarily mean any decision's been made. The White House did not provide a comment, but Friday night, 8 U.S. Air Force KC-135 Stratotankers took off from Oklahoma. According to Flight Radar 24, over Kansas, the tankers refueled 2 groups of planes identified by their call signs. I won't get into those details, but these are associated with special activity flights by B-2 bombers. What's significant about this is that B-2 bombers are the only plane capable of carrying the massive ordnance penetrator, which experts have said is the only type of bomb that is capable of destroying Iran's underground Fordow nuclear facility. These are those heavy bombs that are 30,000 pounds each. The B-2 bomber is able to carry 2 of those types of bombs, each of which weighs 30,000 pounds. After a call with his French counterpart, Iran's president said the country is ready for negotiations, but he will not halt their nuclear activities. Iran's foreign minister attended talks in Turkey after Friday's summit with European officials. There have been no breakthroughs as of yet. Iran did state today that they will consider any weapons shipments to Israel legitimate targets. According to their military spokesperson, military or radar equipment sent to Israel will be considered aiding their aggression. The spokesperson claimed Israel has suffered significant radar and defense losses in recent days, adding that the Israeli military is grappling with ammunition and equipment shortages. Today, the Iranian president Pezeshkian also said Tehran is ready for negotiations, but they will not halt nuclear activities. He said they're ready to provide guarantees and to build trust. This again was after his call with French President Macron, when Macron expressed concerns in a call that they had today. But any preconditions would only be accepted within the framework of international laws and norms. Tehran will never accept reducing nuclear activities to zero, and warned that Iran's response will be even more decisive and forceful in the face of Israel's onslaught. So that's a little bit of the updates in that regard. Now, remember, Iran has built up their nuclear infrastructure since the 1960s. CNN provided some maps, a detailed map, reminding readers that Iran has a well-developed nuclear program, and they have been struck. 3 of their nuclear facilities have been struck by Israel in recent days. So Iran has a very well-developed nuclear program. 3 of their nuclear facilities have been struck, but the damage is not yet clear. Often their development since the 1960s has been secret. Much of it is underground. They have fuel production. They have a research reactor. They have a research institute, and they do have a nuclear power plant, according to CNN maps. They have the Fordow fuel enrichment plant, the Natanz enrichment complex, the Isfahan Nuclear Technology Center, and the Bushehr Nuclear Power Plant, which is their only operating nuclear power plant, which generates electricity using Russian-supplied fuel. So that's quite significant. Now, Israel says that 99% of Iranian drones have been intercepted since the start of the conflict. They've intercepted more than 470 one-way attack drones, including approximately 40 that were launched just overnight recently. And in a rare penetration of Israel's aerial defenses, one drone struck the town of Beit Shan in northern Israel Saturday morning. Another landed in an open area in South Israel. Iran has fired more than 1,000 drones since the start of the conflict. Meanwhile, in Israel, Middle East Eye reported that Palestinian citizens of Israel have been denied the protection of shelters at times by their Israeli Jewish neighbors. In an article talking about Palestinians in Jaffa who were denied access to bomb shelters by their Israeli neighbors, Muslim and Christian families have talked about how they're not welcome as the Iranian attacks have continued, highlighting the dangers and discriminations faced by Palestinian citizens of Israel. An example that was given was Palestinian citizens reported that there was an entry code used to enter their neighborhood shelter, and it was changed by their neighbors, and they were not given the new code. So they tried to enter and couldn't when the Iranian bombings continued over the last couple of weeks. And they said the episode highlights the discrimination and dangers they face as Palestinian citizens of the state of Israel, even in one of the country's mixed cities where about 1/3 of the population remains Palestinians. A 63-year-old named Nasir with health issues who lives in a 4th-story apartment building across the road from the shelter said that he and others from his residence had been given access by someone on their building committee, and said it had been usual for those living in the nearby older building to gather there when sirens sounded. But he said when they entered the shelter over the weekend, they were made to feel unwelcome by the Israeli residents of the newer building. And I could go on, but that's just one example of some of the discrimination Palestinians experience in Israel, where they have access to shelters. That's not including Palestinians in the occupied territories or in Gaza, where there are no shelters or safety to be had. So please keep those who are suffering in Gaza, in the occupied Palestinian territories, those who experience discrimination, those in Iran, those in Israel, anyone who fears the falling of bombs, the desire for loved ones to be kept safe or to return home safely, be they hostages held in Gaza, prisoners held unjustly. There's much for us to pray for, much work to be done as we seek to advocate for peace. May God go before us in the name of Christ. Amen.